Hi, welcome to Quirky Queen's Journals. My name's Kirsten. I have been making little books of painted papers. So these started life similar to this, where just lots of paper that had been painted on that didn't turn out to be anything. So I thought, right, we need to do something with these because the box is overflowing. So I just made little booklets. So I did the same pattern on each paper in each booklet. However, each booklet had a different background. A couple of them I actually added in an extra set. See here, there's like 3 extra wee blue ones, but there isn't on the other ones. Just if it looked like it needed something just to bring it to life. But I'm really happy with them. I think they turned out really well, and it makes them really usable as well. And it also gives a bit of cohesion to these papers, which means they can be used in the same project. Now this was the honeycomb stencil, which everyone knows I love. I feel that the rounder one was a bit more successful, and I think that could be just because it was a more defined area to work from. But it just shows you I did the same thing, but your starting point makes a big difference. Now this one I thought I'll try it with black and white instead of Payne's grey and burnt sienna. I ended up with lots of different shades of grey. It wasn't very successful. I don't feel that it brought any depth to the papers, and I feel they were a bit messy. I added a bit of burnt sienna on top to try and give some sort of focal point. I think because these papers were already, you know, if you look at it, there's a pattern to these. They're not just a blank sheet. So I think that these ones gained a lot of depth, but these ones with the black and white and different shades of grey don't. I think it's the colours don't merge well, I suppose, and then the grey merges too well. Anyway, I'm going to do another one. So all I used was acrylic paint, a stencil, and some of these papers, which are mostly book pages to be fair. So I'll just show you what I did. So the first colour I'm going to use is Payne's grey. I just think the Payne's grey and the burnt sienna are good neutral colours that add a bit of depth. So when I do this, so the Payne's grey, I basically try and make a wee triangle. I don't overthink it. And I also make sure some of it's coming off the page. I'm not using the whole stencil, I'm not using the outside, it's just the inside. These are the stencils I used in the mini mandala monoprints video. So there's one page done. Sorry. It's very quick because you don't overthink how you're putting the stencil down. You're just, you know, you're not trying to fill in every nook and cranny. You're just trying to create a nice background to then use for something else. Now just triangle across the paper. So you basically, obviously 3 points is a triangle. It will create some sort of triangle. But you're trying to do it across the whole paper, not just in a corner. And I'm using a dry brush as well, because when it's wet it's a lot harder to work with. sometimes I make, it moved. Sometimes I make them bigger than others. I've given myself a wee bit of a blister on my thumb from this paintbrush. I'm blaming my tools for me smudging this one. Yeah, so some of the bits of paper are smaller, so you maybe put a wee bit less of the stencil actually on the paper, but anything goes. You're just creating cohesion and you bring depth to it, and you're basically using papers that you don't really know what you're going to use for. We've all got failed jelly prints. This isn't any technical way I'm holding this paintbrush, it's just because my thumb's a bit sore. Because we're putting quite thin layers of paint on as well, this dries really quickly. By the time you've done your 10 pages, you're now ready to start again with the next colour. You know, I hope you can see that. You can. It's all good. I think as well, doing the multiple pages instead of just doing one page, you definitely think about it less, because you're not doing 3 placements on one great big sheet of paper. You're actually doing 30 placements. Do you know that works really well in there, doesn't it? So I use the same stencil though throughout. I'm just going to clean my paintbrush because it's a bit blue. So now I'm using burnt sienna. I think part of the reason that I choose these 2 colours as well is they are neutral colours. I think they're quite neutral colours anyway. But also I have 2, they are 2 colours that I actually do have more paint in than some of the others. Like a burnt umber would, or a raw umber would be nice, but I don't have that in a big tub. I've only got a little tiny tube of it, so. And some of them, depending on the background of the paper, like the burnt sienna shows up really well here, but less so on here just because of the colours that were there to begin with. Sometimes I forget to go to the middle, like here you can see I've basically done it outside and there's nothing in the middle. Oh, I loved that. That turned out really well, but none of the other ones I did with it did, so I'm still practicing that. And I wouldn't overly worry about the brush strokes because you're using a dry brush and the paint spreads thinly. It doesn't overly mark. You don't really see the direction that you're doing it in. I think this one's already got burnt sienna on it. It's gorgeous, this paper. It's got the pearlescent glaze on it. Sometimes when it's like that, I just do wee corners. That still counts as your third one. And sometimes I do the whole thing completely on the page as well. Okay, so after mistakenly doing silver, we're on to titanium buff. So Payne's Grey, Burnt Sienna, titanium buff. Just 3 neutral colours, because it means that the colours on your paper already should marry in to an extent. So I'll choose metallics again based on the current status of the papers. I think gold. I think I'm going to get out gold and do them all in gold, and then we'll see where we are from there. Okay, next up we have gold. I think that's absolutely beautiful. It's a cracking piece to use for something. I'm going to move this tissue paper. I know there's a lot under here, but the tissue paper was being cumbersome. So this sheet of paper probably had the most going on out of them all before I started. And it's come up really well. Potentially, like what I did here was, with this one here, like here I've added in a wee bit of green, and there a bit of yellow, just to try and add a bit more definition to it, but I actually think that one's fine. Right, I lose track of what I've done and what I've not when I become distracted. I actually think, see, having that wee bit of silver underneath the cream and then doing the golden top, I think the gold stands out a bit more. Mind you, a lot of these papers were pearlescent before I started, I'm sure. Right, there the two I've done. Sometimes I find I always go to the same. I have a habit of always starting here. I'm trying to move around so that it's, I don't want every page to have the exact same abstract look to it. And I always do 3 of everything, and it's purely just oh, I've forgotten a few of them. Yeah, do 3 of everything, and it's, you know, they say that when you're doing abstract, to try and, there it is, to try and like use odd numbers. So it's purely that, but I do like the kind of, it does help me think about covering the whole page. You know, when I'm thinking about the triangle points. And I'm not talking about an equal triangle where every point is the exact same amount of weight. It's just about spreading it. I always know that I'm spread over the paper. Now you've been done. It's beautiful. You've been done. Do you know, I think this is the first time on video where the set or the piece of work that I've done on camera has been my favourite, because I always refer back to one that I'd done before and says, oh, you know, I think this one worked better. But I love these. I think this is the best set by far. Okay, so I've laid them out. Do you know, a lot of these were quite pearlescent to begin with. I think the set of papers I used, you know, they had kind of paler, lighter colours, and I think they've worked really well with these colours in that shape of that stencil. But I'm wondering if the silver under the cream, under the titanium buff, and then going back in with the gold has made a difference as well. It's almost like a hologram effect, like I feel like, ooh. Because this one, I would do these ones again. They're not great. I really like this one. But I put college pieces on here before I started, but they're still really, you know, they're really nice, really usable. Bit of a Christmas theme going on. I'm no good with red and green. I really like this on the black. It's just really nice. But I do have to say these ones are just lovely. So I'm going to staple them together and make myself another little booklet. And then, so basically I would use these in one journal and make my pieces with it. I've got about another 10 of these stapled together ready to go. Probably next video I'll just have a big stack of them next to me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Take care.